I'm going to tell you a story of probably the most valuable lesson that I can give you. The story of how I almost lost out on well over 200k a year because I didn't know this one thing. Towards the end of college, I know I didn't want to go to uni, so it was either going down the route of getting a job or doing my own thing. And at the time, I was doing affiliate marketing, which is how I actually grew my TikTok to its first 50k followers. And I was making good money off it, although not enough money to sustain me. So I knew I had to go down the route of getting a job. I was already working part-time at the time, and like a lot of people, I didn't actually know what I wanted to do with my life. So it was either going down the route of getting a job or doing my own thing. So what I did is I got a checklist. I wrote down all the attributes of my dream job and constantly cycled through job opportunities until I could find one that ticked as many attributes that I wanted as possible. And I landed on being a junior sales property negotiator, which was fantastic. I got paid on my results as well as my time. I could scale within an industry that I actually wanted to pursue. And I applied for about 10 different estate agents, had calls back from about 5 and got interviewed by about 3. And one of them went very, very far. And the contract that they were going to make me sign on was £6 an hour, 48 hours a week plus commission. So just over £1,000 a month at 18 years old. And I was days away from actually accepting this job when I realized that I was not considering this one thing. And I wasn't chasing the money either because I knew that the skills and the experience was more important, but I wasn't considering my worth. I really thought that I would be worth £6 an hour. Fast forward a year, I built a few different small businesses, started my own 5-figure a month agency. I'm now somewhat of an influencer with 500k followers across the board. I've been working with some of the biggest brands in the space. I'm on the radio, I'm in the papers, I'm on podcasts, and it isn't to gloat at all. This is to really explain to you that you have to consider your worth. It's important. Because if I had accepted that I was worth £6 an hour and went into that job, then I would have just accepted my mundane reality for what it was. And the lesson here is to really focus on your worth and pinpoint your worth. But how do you pinpoint your worth, and how did I pinpoint mine? Because understanding your worth is the difference between you accepting a job that is worth £6 an hour and you really striving for something more. Now, it's very difficult to pinpoint your worth and justify, because you could just be like, yes, I'm worth thousands and thousands an hour, but although it can only be argued by yourself how much you're worth, if you want to then go and sell your worth to someone else, you have to be able to justify it. Otherwise, in their ears, if there's no justification behind why you're worth £10,000 an hour, it's just waffle. And there's a few ways that you can justify and pinpoint a high self-worth, and I'm going to run you through them from my experience. Number one is like a formula. It's your skills plus your knowledge plus your experience. Now, you're watching this video, your skills, your knowledge, and your experience may not be very much, and that's okay. That should be exciting, because that means the door of realm of possibilities is wide open for you to explore. And when I say to enhance your skills and knowledge, I do not mean go down the route of uni and study a course and this kind of thing, because any information that you want to consume is up on the internet for grabs. And I'm speaking from experience. I did it on the internet myself. I self-taught myself marketing through all the resources I could. Now I'm working with brands that are turning over tens and tens of millions every single year, whilst other people my age are now studying marketing in university to try and achieve the exact same thing. So if you're watching this video, you have an internet connection, therefore you have no excuse to not develop the skills and the knowledge necessary. How much is your time really worth? So skills and knowledge you can grow, and then experience kind of comes on the end when you actually put it into play. So let's say, for example, I'm doing marketing, I acquire the knowledge, I put them into skills, I then start my own marketing agency and then acquire the experience. And the stronger I can make these 3 things, the higher I can claim my self-worth. Do remember, when I'm saying self-worth, I'm essentially saying how much an hour of your time is worth. And so the stronger you can make these 3 aspects, the higher you can claim your self-worth, therefore the more money that you can make. Now, the next way you can justify a high self-worth is leverage. And what I mean by that is that a bin man can arguably work just as hard as the prime minister of a country, for example, but the difference lies in the fact that the prime minister is harder to replace than the bin man. So it's not about hard work, it's about how unique your skill set is and how much leverage you have in the position. And this can be broken down even more. Let's say, for example, you work at a cafe and you've been working at that cafe for a decade. You're at a management role and you know the ins and outs as it's your every single day life. You are much harder to replace than, for example, a barista that's just joined a job that can be trained up in a matter of a few days. Although you may work the same hours as them and you may work with a similar pay to them, you are still much harder to replace because of the skill set that you have and the uniqueness behind it. And the more experience you have in the skill set, the more unique that skill set becomes. Because everyone could get a degree in politics, but the better politician is the one that's been doing it for decades and decades. And the third way you can increase your self-worth is almost how you're perceived. It's almost like social rank in a way. So let's say, for example, you want to start a business and you want someone to consult you on how to start that business, and you've got 2 options. They're both founders of companies, but the only difference lies in the fact that one of them has a social media presence, has some sort of a following, and the other one doesn't. They still achieve similar results. The only difference lies in the fact that one of them has the presence, the other one doesn't. Even if they've achieved the same thing, even if the person that doesn't have any presence have achieved something greater, you're still going to lean towards the person that has an online presence, because there's almost an aspect of trust and fondness within this person. Here's another example, Gary Vee, right? He's one of the top marketers in the world as we know it, but I am sure that there's better marketers than him. But the reason being is that he will always be above everyone else else, it's because he has some sort of personal brand and some sort of online presence. And the higher your self-presence is, the higher you can justify your self-worth. This is why you have people like Im Callum, who is just a business owner like many other people, but because he has an online presence, he can sell an hour or a couple hours of his time for like £20,000, which is a high self-worth. Let me just recap on the three. The first one is your skills plus your knowledge plus your experience. The second one is the leverage that you have and the uniqueness of your skill set. And then the third one is how you are perceived by other people. And you can increase the third one. It doesn't have to be through social media and have a good Instagram following. It's just almost the trust that is built around you. And then once you build all these three factors up, the skill set, knowledge and experience, your leverage and uniqueness, and your personal branding, I guess, you can sell your self-worth for an exponential amount of money, and you can completely justify it. And an hour of your time can go for thousands to tens to hundreds of thousands, depending on the industry that you're in. Here's an example. Gordon Ramsay fits into these three things. He has a skill set, experience and knowledge. He has the leverage on the fact that his skill set is very unique, and he has the personal brand. Although there may be some other chef that has studied the same thing as him, maybe even been doing it longer than him, he will still come out on top. Therefore, like I said, he can probably sell an hour of his time for tens to maybe even hundreds of thousands. And that is it, ladies and gents. That is the life lesson that you will not regret learning once you have properly implemented it. If you want to see more videos like this, here's a few that have popped up on screen right now. Click to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and look through the other videos and just consume as much knowledge as possible. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.